Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister she would have been an awful mother? I, 33 male, am a single foster dad to Andrew, 7 male. I started fostering him during COVID and hope to adopt him as soon as possible. My parents love my kid, and they babysit every chance they get. My brother and sister-in-law also watch him a lot. They have 3 kids and they are great friends with Andrew. My sister had many miscarriages throughout the years. The last one was just weeks ago. My sister loved Andrew at the beginning. Then he started showing interest in ballet, dresses, pink clothes, Barbie dolls etc. All your usual girl stuff. I'm fine with it. He is a child that is inventing his identity, and social gender norms are ridiculous anyway. He is also letting his hair grow long, and it grew over his shoulders already. My sister strongly disapproves of me letting my son be whoever he is. She always buys him boys' clothes and toys, which he doesn't like, so he never uses it. I have told her repeatedly to either buy him things he likes, or simply buy him nothing. The other day she was watching him, and when I came over to pick him up, my sister lives at my parents'. He was dressed in boys' clothes and his hair was cut very short. I asked him what happened, and he said that auntie took him to the hairdresser and shopping for appropriate clothes. He started crying when he told me. I lost it and asked my sister what the F is wrong with her. I told my son to go wait in the car, and then I told my sister that she is never watching him again. She said that she just wants what's best for him. I told her he is my child, not hers, and I'm the one to decide what he needs and what he gets. She said I'm a horrible father and I replied you would have been an awful mother. Sister cried. My mom said I didn't need to be that mean. And my dad said my sister was out of line doing that to my kid. Some of my friends said I was an ass for saying that so soon after she lost her baby. AITA here. Now for the top comments. NTA. Beyond the bullshit she pulled with your son. If she can't handle being told she'd be a terrible mother, shouldn't have called you a terrible father. Don't dish it if you can't eat it. NTA. From the situation you described, your sister would be an awful mother to a child that doesn't fit her cookie cutter outdated views. The timing so soon after a miscarriage is unfortunate. Yes. However, that does not give her a free pass to do what she did. Your son is your child, and she way overstepped her role as aunt. You were advocating and standing up for your child, who she blatantly mistreated. Edited to indicate sister, not sister-in-law. A lot of kids go through phases and just letting them play with whatever they are obsessing over it, that is a good way to parent. Blocking all kids from exploring their interests is shitty bigoted parenting in general. Am I the antagonist for taking my stepmom off my emergency contact list? Stepmom has been in my life since I was 9. Wanted to adopt me, but I said no. So dad came up with the idea to make her my legal guardian as a compromise. She was then added to emergency contact lists for me at school and at the hospital if I was sick or something happened, etc. I never loved it, but it was far better to me than being adopted. Last year I moved out and went to college and I removed her from my medical contact list. Didn't say anything because I wasn't expecting it would be used. Then I had an accident a few weeks ago. Dad was called and made his way over, but had no idea my stepmom didn't know until he called and asked where she was. When my grandparents showed up before her, because my friends called them, there was a big thing afterward. She was hurt I had removed her. My dad asked why I'd done that, and I said it was always a compromise I didn't like, but agreed to, so no adoption would go forward. I also pointed out they had both known this at the time of the adoption legal guardianship stuff. She said I should have kept her on and shown the respect for wanting to be my emergency contact. She told me taking her off of it was cruel. I didn't apologize. She pulled back. I wasn't bothered by that at all, but she was bothered by my lack of being bothered. I hope that makes sense and is saying I'm an asshole again for removing her name. It's become such a big deal that I feel like I need to ask. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. You get to decide who knows what about you and are under no obligation to have anyone listed. I'm always amazed how people who push kids into stuff when they are little get so butthurt once the now grown child decides to do something different. You are not responsible for her happiness. Nor were you cruel. Cruel would have been doing it at 18. Holding a party in celebration of the fact and then announcing it on social media. NTA. Also, like when you grow up, most forms allow you to fill out 2 emergency contacts. Sometimes 3. It's normal to have it be a parent, but when you're a college student, real adults like parents with a work and sleep schedule different from yours isn't always the best idea as your only contact. Especially if you are farther away from them. I had my roommate, and then my mom as my emergency contact, then my partner and my mom. And now it is my husband, and then my mom, and then a dear friend third where the option exists. My dad isn't offended he's not on the list, since my parents would just call each other immediately anyways. This is so fucking weird. Am I the antagonist for taking legal action against my family? I live abroad, and I just got back in town to visit my grandmother who is in the last stage of dementia and bedridden. My grandfather, who is 92, is in good health and sound mind, so he acts as her POA, and we hired a family friend to be her caretaker. I recently found out that my grandmother's rings were missing, and when I did more research, I was told my cousin, her great niece, had taken them after being given them by my grandmother's caretaker, who claimed she got them from my grandfather because she has my grandma in some recording saying she can have them when she dies. Well, my grandmother is not dead. My grandmother told a lot of people they could get a ring one day, but most importantly, she is not in good mental state, and my cousins are nowhere in her will. My grandfather is very upset about his missing wedding ring, and even a ring that my late father purchased for her before he died. My cousin will not return them because of this verbal confirmation she claims she received to take all of my grandmother's jewelry, and I'm a bit irate. I contacted lawyers yesterday, but because she has a nasty tone about it and refuses to give them back to my grandfather, I'm ready to call the police and file a stolen property report. This will obviously cause much tension. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA, your grandmother is not yet dead, and they aren't in her will. Do what you have to do, Opus. Yeah, they are going to steal more. Get it going now. NTA, and I really think you should do it. Also, see how change the carer. NTA, there is no written proof of such transaction. Also, your grandmother seems in no condition to make such arrangement without a third party witness. People with dementia don't know what they did 5 minutes earlier, yet alone what they give to which people. I worked in a retirement home for a year, with a few people with dementia living there, and there are so many stories I can tell from just this short amount of time. Like the man who forgot he lives at the retirement home every morning, and would only realize it late in the evening. He would also forget what you told him literally 5 minutes earlier. Or the woman who was so late stage that you could tell her anything and she would agree. Like, am I right? That you did 30 when you were younger, and she would just agree. One caretaker once spun this completely made up story this way about her past, and she just agreed to everything. BTW. This is abuse, and the caretaker got into problems for doing that, and many more. My point is, whatever a person with dementia says has to be taken with caution. Not speaking about well-being and stuff, but like materialistic belongings. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister nobody owes her motherhood? My oldest sister is 40. She always wanted to be a mom, but some complications meant she was never able to be a biological mom. In her 20s she met a widower with young kids and married him, admitting her intention was to become a mom through them. Her stepkids were never okay with her like that, and for the last 16 years she has struggled to come to terms with the fact not one of them considers her their mom, or embraces her like she would like. This is something she always complains about when she's around our family, especially me and our sisters. 3 years ago one of my sisters was expecting her third child, and she was going through a lot and struggling with her pregnancy. She wasn't sure they could handle a third child and worried about financials because her husband had a new job that paid less than his old one. The old one folded a few months before that, and they had already made adjustments to factor in the new household budget. My oldest sister harassed her for months about letting her adopt the baby, going as far as going to our brother-in-law about it and telling him she wanted the baby and he should talk our sister around. It never happened, but it did harm her relationship with the rest of the family. I gave birth to my second child in November and had a procedure to make sure I had no more kids. Both my pregnancies have been awful on my body, and I didn't want to risk putting myself through that again. My sister brought this up last week. She said I was selfish to sterilize myself before offering to be a surrogate for her, and that I could have given her my youngest to adopt at the very least. I told her I wanted my kids, so I would never ever give one of them up like that. She said her dreams of motherhood were important. I told her nobody owed her motherhood though, and the way she was carrying on was wrong and concerning, and she had brushed aside our concerns before. But she needed to get some help because she can't keep demanding others give her kids. She flipped out and started screaming that as her family we should want to help her reach her dream of motherhood and we should be more understanding because she gets shit on by her stepchildren and doesn't get any of the joy the rest of us have. We have been sensitive for years. We encouraged her to speak to someone countless times, but she keeps going on like this and it is concerning. Her marriage has felt the strain of it all. But I know I might have been harsh saying we didn't owe her motherhood, which is why I'm here. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. It's weird as fuck she just wants to take anyone's kids. Maybe she feels like it would be better to have some genetic link, like my sister's child or mine. It could be why she never considered regular adoption. It all clearly originates from her being unable to have a child of her own, and then her stepchildren not embracing her as their mother. Wow. First off, your sister needs a lot of help. She is so obsessed with having children that she is turning into someone most people wouldn't even want their kids around. You're keeping a close eye on your little ones, right? She needs therapy, and quite possibly medication. Second, not the a-hole. You actually put it very well. Nobody is owed motherhood, and your sister is wrong to expect others to hand it to her. The words were a bit blunt, but I have the feeling you have tried to be nice about the whole thing for a long time. And the comment about you being a surrogate for her was the last straw. It's not up to you to make her a mom. Good luck to your family, particularly her husband, if struggling with infertility and then finally getting pregnant. 3 miscarriages and going through almost 6 months of pregnancy now. Due in Oct has taught me is that no one is entitled to your body, not the a-hole. Am I the antagonist for not letting my daughter go to freshman prom? Me, 37F, and my husband, 37 male, have 3 kids, 14 male, 14F and 12 male. A few days ago, I got home from a diner for work and saw that a vase in the kitchen was on the floor in pieces. It was a very expensive vase. While we can afford a new one, I was still very upset about it. I see my twins sitting on the couch and asked what happened. My daughter tells me that our 12-year-old was playing with one of his baseballs and broke it. My youngest loves sports memorabilia and does collect it. But I was immediately suspicious because he takes very good care of his antique sports memorabilia and won't throw a baseball like that, even with his modern baseballs he uses for sport. I've never seen him throw one in the house. My 12-year-old isn't a great liar, and when I asked him, he said he did it, and it seemed like he was lying. Then I noticed he had chocolate on his shirt, and it was obvious that they had tried to bribe him with chocolate. My daughter's boyfriend works at a chocolatier and gets some free chocolate. I then asked both of the twins what happened, but separately. First I took my son into our bedroom where he immediately admitted that him and his sister were playing with one of their brother's antique baseballs and broke the vase. I was obviously disappointed in his actions, but I was glad he was honest. When I took my daughter into our room, she insisted it was their younger brother and refused to acknowledge what she did. I then went back to my son. I told him he lost his phone for a week and he complied. No other punishment. He said he was going to the place where him and his friends take welding lessons, which is fine by me. I decided that losing their phone would be the punishment. My daughter refused to give the phone and still insisted that it was her younger brother. I then got my youngest in the room with us and asked him to explain why he had chocolate all over himself. where he admitted that she bribed him with the sweets. After that, my daughter just went silent and refused to give me the phone when I asked. I then told her that she would not be allowed to go to the freshman prom for lying to me and refusing to hand over her phone. The lying is what really makes me upset. My son is the more careless and chill sibling, so I kind of expected less pushback from him, since he's more likely to just go with the punishment. My daughter is a good kid, but she can be a lot more defensive, which isn't inherently bad, but was in this case. My husband said I was being too harsh and should let her go, but I'm still not on board with letting her go. He's the more permissive parent and we've talked about how the kids know he's easier to manipulate, but he said he thinks that this punishment is unfair. I love him, but I disagree, and I don't want my daughter to think she can get away with lying. She could done something with her friends too, but insisted that she keep the phone. Now for the top comments. NTA. Lying, bribing, doubling down when caught in the lie, and refusing to give up the phone. You definitely needed to escalate the punishment. Stick to it. Your husband giving in will only reinforce that it's okay to behave this way. And who cleaned up the vase? They are trying to get away with breaking something, and they just left it there broken on the floor. Seems to me paying to replace the vase would be the proper punishment for the broken vase. Not attending the dance would be for all the other stuff. NTA vase is not a big deal, but the lies and trying to frame a sibling are not okay at all. I'm still wondering why none of the kids cleaned up the broken vase. Am I the antagonist for bringing my baby to a child-free wedding? My cousin lives a 6-hour drive from me and the rest of our family. A few months ago we all drove over there for his wedding. Due to limited space, no children were invited to the wedding, except the bride's young nieces and nephews. My baby was 10 months old at the time and I wasn't comfortable leaving him alone in an unfamiliar place with a stranger, which was a babysitter that my other cousins hired for their own kids. So I decided to bring him to the wedding. I wrote on the RSVP that I was bringing him, but he would be sitting on my lap and I would bring my own food for him. My cousin didn't say anything, so I assumed that he was okay with it. My baby cried at the ceremony, but I quickly took him out of the room. At the reception I had him with me the whole time in a body carrier. He didn't make much of a fuss, and I thought everything was okay. After the wedding my aunt, groom's mom, confronted me and told me that I was rude for bringing my baby without permission. I explained that I wrote on the RSVP what I was planning to do, but my cousin didn't object. She said that my cousin and his bride had a problem with it, but the bride didn't want to start any drama because she doesn't know me well. My other cousin's baby was 7 months old at the time and my aunt said that he had no problem leaving his baby with a certified babysitter and I should have done the same. And some of my cousins were upset because they thought that the groom gave me special treatment by letting me bring my baby and making them leave their kids with a babysitter. I didn't mean to start any drama. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. AITA. You were told the wedding was child-free. If you're not comfortable leaving the baby then the correct RSVP was I'm sorry, but I can't come. Not I've decided the rules don't apply to me. He cried during the ceremony exactly what they were trying to avoid. AITA. You can't just write in a +1. Especially a child at a child-free wedding. Your child was disruptive for the bit before you took them out, which is exactly what the couple didn't want. You disrespected the bride and groom, violated their wishes, and disrupted the ceremony. This was extremely not okay of you. If you can't find a suitable childcare arrangement, stay home. AITA. This was immensely inconsiderate on multiple levels. 1. To the bride and groom who made their wishes clear. 2. To the people who were looking forward to a child-free wedding. And 3. Especially the people who made proper arrangements and didn't bring their kids. Even though they may have wanted to, you've now made the bride and groom look like they gave you special treatment and not other guests. That's extremely unkind and thoughtless of you. You owe them an apology.